Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is the all-new MacBook Neo. It's the new low-priced Mac starting at $599 or going up to $699. There's only two variants, 256GB or 512GB with Touch ID. The base model doesn't have Touch ID, but also you can get it for $499 with an education discount. It comes in 4 different colors. I have 2 variants here, with one with Touch ID, one without, and it comes in silver, blush, which is a pink color, as well as citrus that we have here, and indigo. So let's go ahead and unbox these. We'll compare them, set them up, and see how they do. So again, this is the base model, so let's go ahead and flip it over here. In citrus, you'll see 13-inch MacBook Neo, 8GB of memory, 256GB storage. Let's go ahead and open it up here. So we'll pull off the pull tab. And I saw quite a few of these sold today while I was picking up other products at the Apple Store. So it looks like there's quite a bit of interest here. So again, we'll open it up just like this. This is the cheaper one, as it's $256. And you can see the wrapper here. It actually says hello in the new citrus color. So you can see that here. Nice little touch. They showed that in the animation as well. Let's go ahead and see what comes in the box, and then we'll take a look at the MacBook. So it says designed by Apple in California. No stickers, but we do have a quick start guide with sort of a matching color here that says MacBook Neo. So again, if we open it up, it's the matching MacBook. We'll have to see if that's the case on the other one as well. And then as far as what we have in the box, they didn't color match. It looks like the power cable here, but we do have an adapter. This is just a 20-watt adapter, so that's included in the box, but it is using an iPhone chip. And then we have USB-C to USB-C, and it's a nice braided cable as well. So you can see that here. It's braided, looks pretty good overall. So let's go ahead and put that back in the box, close it up, and take a close look at the MacBook. So let's unwrap this one, and then we'll take a look at the other one. So we'll pull off the cover here. There we go. It looks pretty nice. It's definitely a vibrant yellow color, and hopefully it shows properly under the light. Let's move this out of the way. Now, before we look around the outside edge, let's open the other one so we can take a look side by side. So again, this is the Indigo model, and this is 8GB of memory, but this time with 512GB of storage. So again, let's open it up here. And we'll take the cover off. Again, it says hello. You'll see it's got that color behind it a little bit there. Again, in the box, the exact same thing. Also, let's take a look here, see if it's color matched. And it looks like it is. So MacBook Neo, the quick start guide. I love the attention to detail. I definitely would love to see matching cables, but that's not that much of an issue. Let's go ahead and remove the wrapper here. And this is sort of close to the midnight color, but not exactly. So if you're trying to get an idea of what this looks like in person, here's a midnight MacBook Air, and this is a light blue colored MacBook Air. So different years, a few years old, but you can see the different colors here. Now let's take a look around the outside edge. So we have both colors here, and of course there's a couple others, but you'll see that we have some speakers here, so side-firing speakers. And then on the front, you've got the typical MacBook look, so you've got the little lip here where you can open it up. On the other side, again, we have our speaker, but then we have a headphone jack here. So that's nice that they keep that. And then we have USB-C, but there's 2 different variants. So there's one that's faster. One is a USB 3 port at 10 gigabits per second. The other is a USB 2 port at 480 megabits per second. Both of them weigh 2.7 pounds or 1.23 kilograms. It's the same weight as the 13-inch MacBook Air. So a little bit different there. And if you want me to compare that quick, let me move this off to the side. This is the 13-inch MacBook Air M4. So you can see side by side, a little bit thicker than the MacBook Air, it looks like. Very similar size, but not quite as tall. So again, if we turn this way, you'll see it's a little bit narrower on each side. Not quite as big, just slightly smaller overall, but fairly similar as far as the way it looks, also with color matched feet on the MacBook Neo as well. So let's go ahead and open it up. We've got them side by side. Let's go ahead and open them up together here. So you see me open them in real time, a little bit tricky there. but you get the idea. And you can see the keyboards here. I wasn't able to see this in some other people's videos as well, where you can actually see the keyboard pretty nicely here. So you'll see that it's not a white color, but it sort of matches blue. The same is true with the citrus color, where it's sort of an off citrus color. Let's take these off here. Both booted up with their own matching wallpaper, so that's very nice. And you can see the display. So what we have here looks a little bit different than maybe other MacBooks. So what we have here is a trackpad that is not a force touch trackpad, but rather a physical trackpad. What I mean by that is if we press down on it, it has a physical button, where the others have a motor in them that gives it the feeling of a button. So you'll see there, it goes in and indents. Let me show you from this angle, maybe it's a little bit better. So when you're pressing it, it feels similar to the other, but it's a physical click instead of a motorized click. Something that's a little bit different. You can see the display. It's 13 inches. It's a little bit reflective, and it's 2408 by 1506 with 219 pixels per inch. It goes up to 500 nits of brightness. That's the same as what you get on the MacBook Air, so no difference there. As far as the keyboards, they're identical other than the colors that match the actual chassis. And you'll see we don't have Touch ID on the 256GB model, but we do on the 512GB model. Both colors or all colors are available with either or. So you'll see some of the keys are a little bit different. Typically this would say return. The shift keys, they've changed some of the symbols this year as well. Let's go ahead and get this set up and see what it's like. So I'll set them both up at the same time here, and we'll see what we've got here. So we'll go ahead and click continue, and it's asking if we want to transfer your data from this Mac or from some other Mac. I'm going to set it up as new on both of them. So we'll go ahead and click continue here. We'll just go through this together. And it's asking about accessibility features. We can set those up. I don't need those right now, so we could do that later. And now we'll set up Wi-Fi. One thing you may have already noticed is the menus are color matched to the device. So that's a nice touch that we have here. It says software update. We'll update later as I want to see what's installed just from the start here. And again, data and privacy. Again, color matched to the device. Now we can set up an account name, set it up like this. So we can go ahead and put in your name, whatever icon you'd like. Next, we'll sign into my Apple account. Now it's asking if I'd like to set up my iCloud keychain. I can do that now or set it up later. Now it's saying make this your new Mac. We can customize the settings or set it up just like it has here. I'm going to customize, but now we can enable location services. And it says use location services. It's warning you. We'll go ahead and do that. We can or don't have to share Mac analytics. That's up to you. I typically don't, but again, that's up to you. We'll click continue, and then we can set up screen time if we'd like. We'll set that up later, and then we have Apple Intelligence. We can click continue. We can also use notification summaries. Can choose them all here or none at all. It's up to you. I typically like this feature, but we'll go ahead and click next, and then we can set up Siri. We'll set this up later, and now we can set up Touch ID, although this one is a little bit different with the setup. So this one, because it doesn't have Touch ID, is just saying choose your look, where this one is saying set up Touch ID. So we'll go ahead and do that here. Just press to set it up. Pretty simple. There we go. It's definitely nice to have it. And then we'll click continue. Now we can set Apple Pay here, but let's go ahead and choose our look. We'll leave it on, I guess, auto mode here. We'll click continue. Then we'll set up Apple Pay later, and then we can choose our look here. So again, auto, continue, and now it says update Mac automatically. We'll click only download automatically so we can choose ourselves, and now it says welcome. So that's a pretty simple and seamless process, just like it normally is. We'll give it a moment to process. This one says get started, so we'll go ahead and click that. Then we'll go back into here. So this is the default setup for all of these new MacBook Neos. And if you squint at this, it says Mac, but let's go ahead and take a look at what version we have. So we'll go into System Settings. And within System Settings, you'll see we have, of course, a bunch of different options and things here. Let's go to About. And you'll see if we scroll down here, we're on macOS Tahoe version 26.3, build number 25D2125 on both of them. Let me go ahead and get this updated. I'll install some software, and we'll take a closer look at things such as wallpapers and more in just a little bit. So you'll see macOS Tahoe 26.3.2, which is the newest version they released the other day. Let's go ahead and click the eye. No notes here. It just says it provides bug fixes for your Mac. And again, I do love how it's color matched. We'll take a look at that customization later though, but let's go ahead and update now. Now I've installed a bunch of apps. Let's go ahead and take a look at customization. So you'll see everything is set up with liquid glass here. If we go into our system settings, I'll just move this one aside for now so we can take a closer look here. So as far as customization goes, of course, we have appearance here, and under appearance, we have this Mac. So you can, of course, change it to graphite, and then all of the different things throughout the Mac change, but you'll see we have the custom one for this Mac. So we do have pink and red and orange, but this Mac, again, matches what this Mac has, folder colors and everything else. When it comes to wallpaper, if we go down to wallpaper here, you'll see that we have Tahoe and all the others, but if we scroll down here, we have all of the new ones for the latest Mac. So we have Mac Purple, Mac Blue, Mac Pink, which was odd that I had to re-download it, or Mac Yellow. So under Mac, we also show it under Pictures. So that's here as well. But again, we have these different versions. So depending on what you like, you can match your Mac here. But you have all of the regular ones as well. Now we do have a 1080p FaceTime camera or web camera. You'll see it right here. It's a tiny little camera right there, 1080p. It will work with FaceTime and different conferencing websites and things like that, Zoom calls and everything else. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like and sounds like as well. So if we go in and do a new movie recording here, we'll go down to the bottom, make sure it's on maximum, tilt it up here, and let's see what it's like. So this is the 1080p FaceTime camera from the new MacBook Neo. It gives you an idea of what it sounds like from the microphone compared to my studio microphone I typically use, and of course the overall look of it. Now, based on what I'm seeing here, I would say this is not a very high quality webcam, but it's sufficient for things such as FaceTime calls, as well as Zoom calls and other conferencing apps as well. So we'll go ahead and stop that. Now, when it comes to the keyboard, I noticed that the keys seem a little bit more wobbly to me. So you'll see as I push here, they seem like they wobble under my finger a little bit more, at least more than a MacBook Air or MacBook Pro. That could just be me. I haven't really heard anyone else mention that, but it just feels a little bit different to me, just like the trackpad feels a little bit different. Both very good, but slightly different. Also, there's no backlight here with the keyboard. So if we take a look at that, we'll go ahead and turn off the lights here. If we turn the screen way down, you'll see that the keyboard is hard to see. And if we turn it back up, it's sort of easier to see, but it's just from the backlight of the display itself. So that's how you're seeing the keyboard. And again, you can see it, but it's not as bright as if it was backlit itself. Let's turn that back on here. And with the light on, let's go ahead and see what it sounds like as well. There is no flex behind here unless you push really hard. You can see it move, but very little flex whatsoever. If we go into notes maybe, and let's bring the microphone over, and we'll go ahead and type, this is the MacBook Neo. This is the keyboard. So I do type a little bit differently, but that gives you an idea of what it sounds like when you're typing on it. When it comes to the speakers, let's go ahead and take a listen to them. We have two of them, one on the left, one on the right, and just hearing them so far, they sound okay. They're sufficient enough, but they're not super impressive like a MacBook Pro. But I wanted you to hear them a little bit through my microphone, and we'll also see how loud they go using my decibel meter here. So let me tilt the microphone so you can hear, and I have some royalty-free music to play. So it sounds okay, definitely distorts a little bit at the highest volume, and we hit about 90 decibels total. So plenty loud. You really shouldn't be listening to them at that volume anyway, so plenty loud. Around the same loudness as what we get with the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Again, fuller sound than the 17 Pro Max as we have larger speakers, and you can see those with magnet paper. So you'll see these are the speakers right here, where we have them right in this area, again on this side, and these are magnets for the lid to hold it closed. So we should have similar magnets up here that match, so you can see those here. So again, the speakers down here, and they're tiny speakers, but they're decent, especially given the size of the speakers and the size of the MacBook. When it comes to overall speed, let's run a general benchmark, and then we'll take a look at a few different applications. So first, we'll take a look at Geekbench 6. So let's separate these just a little bit in case they vent some of the heat out of that area. Probably not, but let's go ahead and check it out and run a CPU benchmark. We'll also check thermals while it's running as well, just to see if it gets hot on the outside like a typical MacBook would, but there is no fan here. When it comes to the overall thermals, let's go ahead and take a look. You can see the thermal signature here, where just over in this area of the keyboard, it gets a little bit warm. If I place my fingers there, it's slightly warm, but barely warm at all. So according to the FLIR thermal camera, we're around 35 degrees Celsius. On the other one here, let's see if it's about the same. I would expect it to be about the same, maybe 34 degrees Celsius, right in the same ballpark there with the overall temperatures. So fairly cool actually for a MacBook, and you can barely tell that it's warm right here. If we did something even more intensive, maybe it would heat up more though, for maybe a long-term test such as Final Cut or something else. In initial benchmarks, you'll see they're fairly similar. Of course, we could run this again and get slightly different tests, but on the left here, we have 3,578 for single core, 9,029 for multi-core, or it's a little bit lower on the right. Why that happens, we don't really know. It might be processing something in the background, but these are set up identically. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the disk speed test as well and see what they do as far as storage speed and if there's any difference between 256 and 512. So I just opened both of these, didn't touch anything. We'll go ahead and click Start Speed Test and see what we've got. So on the left, we have 1,500 or so megabytes per second, and on the right, 1,600. We'll give it a moment here. Read and write speeds are very similar between both of them. Maybe a little bit faster on the 512, closer to 1,600 megabytes per second and 1,600 megabytes per second for write and read, compared to closer to 1,300 or 1,400 for write speeds on the one on the left. So very similar, however, much slower than what you get on a MacBook Pro around 6,000 or the latest M5 Max at 12,000 megabytes per second. Now, of course, gaming may be something you'd do a lot, and of course, I wouldn't do a whole lot of gaming outside of the App Store, but you could do that if you wanted. We can open up Sneaky Sasquatch, for example, and this is just right in the App Store from Apple Arcade. So we can use the arrows to walk. Everything is nice and fast. We can click. Frame rates look good. This isn't that intensive of a game. Maybe if we open up Civilization 7. So you'll see here's Civilization 7. You can move around just fine. It looks fine. It's not going to be over 60 hertz as the display isn't, but it's nice and fast. If I want to go home, I can swipe home, go back to my desktop, then go right back into the game and continue playing. So it's really nice that it seems to be plenty fast. And maybe I didn't mention this before, but it's an A18 Pro processor. So basically out of an iPhone from 16 Pro Max. So it's got 8 gigs of RAM and the SSD is slower. So definitely some slowness there, but it does have video decode and encode engines along with ProRes encode and decode engines, AV1 decode, and hardware accelerated H.264, HEVC, ProRes, and ProRes RAW codecs as well. So processors all there for hardware acceleration. So let's go ahead and open up Final Cut this time and see if it will handle what I typically edit. So we'll go into Final Cut Pro and see what it does. So this is Final Cut Pro with a recent project in it from probably a few weeks ago, but I edited on my main Mac, and this is from a Canon C80 with H.265 4K footage. No issue playing it back. Scrubbing through it is nice and fast, so I thought we'd see how quickly it exports and just let you know if you can use this maybe as an editing computer on the go. So you'll see I have my watermark here. Let's see how long it takes to export this, and I'll use the exact same settings I use on my main Mac. I ran the test and I'm pretty impressed, especially for what this is. So compared to the others, this edited and exported the exact same video in 10 minutes and 38 seconds. The MacBook Air M4 did it in 6 minutes and 48 seconds, MacBook Pro M4 Max 16-inch in 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and the M1 Ultra did it in 2 minutes and 24 seconds. Now, I think that's pretty impressive for an A18 Pro running Mac with only 8 gigabytes of RAM, where the M1 Ultra, for example, has export segmentation, which surprisingly this does too. I'll show you that in a moment. But that has 4 exports at the same time, basically, and speeds everything up with over 100 gigabytes of RAM. This only has 8. using swap speed with a slower SSD. So very, very impressive. And of course, if you stacked a bunch of different footage on here, it would slow down, but that was pretty impressive overall. So for example, if I go to share within settings, you'll see it says allow export segmentation. This is not there on all Macs. So according to Apple, it's pretty much only the Ultra or Max chipsets that have this. So it looks like they've added it to the Neo. It's here. I was able to use it. And again, it only took about 10 minutes to export a 13-minute video, or almost 13-minute video. So pretty impressive overall. Now, one other thing I wanted to share is we don't have power modes in here other than low power mode. So if we go into our settings, go to battery, you'll see under low power mode that it says never, but there's no performance mode here. So it's just what you see is what you get, makes it very simple and straightforward. So if you're wondering who this is for, well, this is definitely great for students. It's super fast, really no issues. Even if you want to edit some 4K video, you could record it on a Canon, you could record it on really whatever you'd like, edit it here, unless it's very high end with a bunch of different projects, a ton of different, maybe changing the LUTs, putting on effects, all sorts of things like that, then you want something a little more powerful. But to learn Final Cut Pro, iMovie, you want to use compressor, you could use that if you wanted to. I did it right out of Final Cut Pro. But of course, we have all of the different applications you expect with a Mac. And it's very impressive just to see this being as fast as it is, as it's as fast as an M1 or so, maybe a little bit faster. So using this to play your typical games, maybe running a few different things, maybe editing music or creating music here, this would be perfect to get started. Then when you need something a little more powerful, you can move up. But of course, you can use this along with your iPhone, send messages back and forth, AirDrop, and all the other things that come with the Apple ecosystem. So I think this is a great Mac to start, especially if it's for students around $500. I'm sure we'll see discounts in the future, and I'm pretty impressed with this overall with its build quality. Now, if it was up to me, I would always go for the Touch ID model with extra storage because you can't upgrade it in the future, and having Touch ID for things such as payments and other things, logging in is much faster. So if we lock these, you'll see I put my fingerprint down, it's unlocked. Here I have to put in a password. And it's just like your iPhone the same way. So again, I'm very impressed with the MacBook Neo, but let me know what you think of it in the comments below. And of course, if you'd like to get your hands on these wallpapers, I'll link them in the description as well. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.